He hid his true identity to choose his wife in a beauty contest, but ended up being exposed. What happened next shocked everyone. Before the story begins, comment below which city you're watching the video from. We love getting to know our viewers. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more exciting stories. Enjoy the story and see you soon. The rhythmic sound of keyboards and hurried voices echoed through the luxurious broadcasting building where Lucas awaited a meeting with his father. The conference room, minimalist and decorated in shades of grey and blue, exuded power and formality. Sitting at the head of the long glass table was Roberto Andrade, the communications mogul, gazing at Lucas with a stern expression. He expected more from his son, who so far seemed disconnected from the empire built over generations. "Lucas, it's time for you to leave the world of fantasy and face what it means to be an Andrade," Roberto said firmly. "We have a major event happening, and you're going to be involved, even if it's just to learn." The major event was the annual beauty contest hosted by the network, a powerhouse of ratings and sponsorships. Lucas, however, didn't want to merely watch from the sidelines. He had a bold idea. "Dad, let me do this my way. I want to understand what makes this event so important, but I'll need to see things from a different perspective." Roberto raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Go on." Lucas unveiled his plan: to disguise himself as a backstage worker and observe the event unnoticed. He wanted to see the true nature of the people involved, free from the masks imposed by wealth and fame. Despite his doubts, Roberto agreed, curious to see where Lucas's idea might lead. The next morning, Lucas arrived at the network studio dressed in simple work clothes, carrying a toolbox. The corridors were a whirlwind of organized chaos. Contestants with flawless makeup moved around while the technical team raced to prepare the stage. The contrast was mesmerizing. He met Ben, a lighting technician, who greeted him with a friendly nod. Ben was a man of few words, but his determination was evident in every action. Lucas quickly realized that Ben's work was crucial, but often overlooked. As he wandered through the backstage area, Lucas saw Mariana for the first time. She was organizing a stack of papers while giving instructions to two assistants, her tone firm but kind. "Shouting won't help. Let's solve this together, okay?" she said, smiling at a contestant on the verge of tears. Lucas was struck. Mariana wasn't just efficient, she seemed to be the heartbeat of the event, balancing the chaos with a grace he had never encountered. Throughout the day, Lucas began to interact more with the crew. He noticed Anna, one of the contestants, reading a book while waiting for her turn to rehearse. She seemed detached from the gossip circulating among the others. In contrast, Sophia, another contestant, radiated an almost intimidating confidence, drawing attention wherever she went. "So, you're new here?" Ben asked while adjusting a light. "Yeah, just helping out where I can," Lucas replied, keeping his disguise intact. "Well, if you need anything, let me know, but watch out for Sophia. She has a knack for getting what she wants." Lucas laughed but made a mental note. Sophia seemed like someone worth watching closely. By the end of the day, Lucas was exhausted. Sitting on a stack of boxes backstage, he reflected on everything he had witnessed. Everyone there had a story, a struggle, or a goal. He was beginning to understand that the world his father had built was far more intricate than he had imagined. But one thing was clear: Mariana stood out. She was unlike anyone he had met before, genuine in a way he could barely define. For the first time, Lucas felt he might be on the right path, not just to understand others, but also to understand himself. The sun was barely rising when Lucas arrived at the studio for his second day as a common worker. He blended easily with the technical crew, his relaxed demeanor and simple uniform helping him remain unnoticed. Yet his sharp eyes took in everything: backstage conversations, the dramas between contestants, and most of all, the moments when Mariana shone with her calm and decisive leadership. Backstage at the main stage, tension filled the air. The dress rehearsal was about to begin, and the contestants waited in small groups. Lucas seized the opportunity to approach Anna, who sat alone, reading her book once more. Her calm demeanor stood out in the frantic environment. "Interesting book?" Lucas asked, pretending to reorganize some cables nearby. Anna looked up and smiled shyly. "It's about art history. I like learning something new, even in unexpected places." Her response intrigued Lucas. She seemed completely unfazed by the contest's competitive frenzy, focused on something deeper than just winning. They exchanged a few words before Anna was called to the stage. As Anna walked away, Sophia approached. She looked as dazzling as ever and seemed fully aware of it. Her eyes caught Lucas, and a calculated smile spread across her face. "New around here? I don't remember seeing you before," she said in a sweet voice. "Yes, just helping backstage," Lucas replied, trying to sound casual. "Well, I'll keep you in mind. Sometimes it's good to have someone who can handle tricky situations." She winked, leaving a hint of ambiguity in the air. Lucas felt that Sophia was a natural strategist, using her beauty and charm as tools to manipulate those around her. Yet he couldn't ignore the intelligence behind her act. During the rehearsal, Lucas saw Mariana in action again. One of the contestants, visibly stressed, began arguing with a makeup artist. Before things could escalate, Mariana stepped in, diffusing the tension with a mix of authority and empathy. "We're all nervous, but let's remember, we're here to work together." She placed a reassuring hand on the contestant's shoulder, who took a deep breath and nodded. Once the situation was under control, Lucas approached her. "You seem to have all the answers around here," he said, trying to sound casual. Mariana laughed, adjusting her loose bun. "Not all the answers, but I try to keep the ship from sinking. And you? You seem to know more than just how to carry cables." Lucas gave a faint smile, but didn't respond directly. He realized Mariana was more perceptive than she let on. At the end of the day, Lucas and Ben were working together on the final adjustments to the stage lights. Ben, who had been reserved until then, began to open up. "My mom's sick, you know. I work here because the money helps, but it's tough. Sometimes it feels like I'm racing against time." Lucas stayed silent for a moment, absorbing his words. Ben's determination and struggle represented a reality Lucas had never faced directly. He started to understand that the world outside his privileged bubble was filled with people like Ben, fighting battles every day. "You're stronger than you think," Lucas said sincerely. Ben gave a small smile, surprised by the empathy in Lucas's voice. Despite their apparent differences, the two began to form a bond. Before leaving, Lucas saw Anna and Sophia arguing near the dressing rooms. He couldn't hear their words, but it was clear that Sophia was dominating the conversation. Anna looked uncomfortable, but didn't fight back. As Sophia walked away, Lucas approached Anna. "Everything okay?" he asked carefully. "Sophia is complicated, but I won't let her get to me. I just need to focus on what matters." Once again, Lucas was struck by Anna's resilience. She was unlike anything he had expected to find in a beauty contest. Meanwhile, Sophia seemed to be exactly what he had imagined, a relentless strategist. As Lucas left the studio that evening, he realized his journey was just beginning. He was learning more about the people around him, but he was also starting to uncover his own biases and assumptions. One thing was clear: the contest was more than a glamorous spectacle. It was a microcosm of human conflict, and Lucas was right in the middle of it all. The third day at the studio began with a heavy atmosphere. The competition was nearing its final stage, and the pressure on the contestants was mounting by the minute. Backstage, tension and distrust permeated the air, amplified by the ever-present cameras capturing every detail for a documentary about the event. As usual, Lucas moved quietly through the corridors. He had already identified the studio's sensitive spots, the contestants' dressing room, where secrets and gossip flowed freely, the technical area, where Ben worked tirelessly, and Mariana's workspace, which operated as the nerve center of the entire organization. Early in the afternoon, a heated argument drew everyone's attention. In the main dressing room, Sofia and Anna were at the center of a confrontation. Sofia, with her sharp tone and exaggerated gestures, accused Anna of stealing one of the dresses for the upcoming photo shoot. "I don't know what you're talking about, Sofia," Anna replied, struggling to stay calm. "I didn't even know that dress was yours." Sofia stepped closer, her presence almost suffocating. "Of course you knew. You act all innocent, but everyone knows you're trying to outshine me." Mariana arrived swiftly, drawn by the commotion. Her confident demeanor immediately brought an air of authority to the room. "What's going on here?" she asked, looking between the two. Before Anna could respond, Sofia began dramatizing the situation, painting Anna as a deceitful competitor. Lucas observed from a distance, noting how Sofia skillfully manipulated the narrative. Mariana, however, didn't seem convinced. "This sounds like a big misunderstanding. Sofia, why don't we check where the dress is? I'm sure there's no need for accusations." Sofia huffed, but eventually relented. When the dress was found hanging in a different dressing room, Mariana shot Sofia a firm look, making it clear that such behavior wouldn't be tolerated. Later, Lucas, who had watched the scene unfold, approached Mariana. "You have a knack for handling difficult people," he remarked. Mariana sighed, visibly tired. "It's part of the job, but Sofia is pushing the limits, and Anna, she tries to be strong, but I'm not sure how much more she can take." Meanwhile, Sofia was still scheming. She had noticed Lucas, who, despite appearing to be a mere worker, carried an intriguing air about him. She started watching him more closely, looking for ways to pull him into her games. "You're always around, aren't you?" Sofia said, crossing paths with Lucas in an empty corridor. "I do what I'm asked," he replied, keeping his tone neutral. "Maybe you should join me one of these days. I like people who know how to work behind the scenes." Lucas smiled politely, but felt the weight of manipulation in her voice. He knew Sofia was trying to involve him in something bigger. That evening, Lucas found Anna sitting alone in the garden beside the studio. She looked worn out, gazing at the sky and taking deep breaths. "Are you okay?" he asked, approaching carefully. Anna looked up at him and smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "It's hard, you know. I didn't expect it to be this heavy. The accusations, the gossip, the games." Lucas sat down beside her. "You have something the others don't, Anna. Don't let this get to you." Anna looked at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. For a moment they sat in silence, sharing an unspoken understanding. Later, Lucas joined Ben, who was adjusting the lights for the next shoot. Lucas mentioned the incident between Sofia and Anna, and Ben shook his head knowingly. "Sofia knows how to manipulate people. I've seen it before. The problem is, she always finds someone willing to play along." Lucas reflected on Ben's words as he gazed at the empty studio. The beauty contest was a showcase of talent and dreams, but it was also a battleground of ambitions and rivalries. He began to realize that uncovering the truth about the people around him would be far more complicated than he had imagined. The night ended with Lucas more determined than ever to continue exploring this world of contrasts. Deep down, however, he knew he was becoming emotionally involved, especially with Anna and Mariana, in a way that could jeopardize everything. The studio buzzed with activity as the contest neared its decisive stages. Every detail seemed more urgent, every glance more loaded with expectation or tension. Lucas continued playing his role as a backstage worker, but today his focus was on Mariana. She was the center of it all, solving problems before they fully emerged. A failing microphone, a contestant unable to find her outfit, a last-minute argument over the presentation order. Mariana handled it all with an almost superhuman calm. During a break, Lucas saw her sitting alone, flipping through a clipboard with the day's schedule. He approached slowly, holding out a bottle of water. "Looks like you never stop," he commented, offering the bottle. "I can't. If I stop, chaos takes over," she replied, accepting the water with a tired smile. Lucas sensed this was the right moment to ask the questions that had been on his mind since meeting her. "How did you start here? I mean, you seem to know every detail of this place." Mariana shrugged, but her gaze drifted as though recalling something significant. "I started as an intern, didn't have many options back then. My dad was a doorman at a commercial building, and my mum worked as a seamstress. I always wanted something bigger, so I studied journalism at night and took whatever jobs I could find during the day." Lucas noted a hint of pride in her voice, but there was something else, a vulnerability she rarely let show. "You've accomplished so much. Not everyone would have that kind of determination." Mariana laughed, though there was a trace of bitterness in her tone. "Maybe, but sometimes I wonder if it's enough. To a lot of people here, I'm still just the production assistant." Later, Lucas watched her again, this time mediating a conflict between two contestants. One had complained that her makeup wasn't as good as the others, accusing the makeup team of favoritism. Mariana listened patiently, spoke to everyone involved, and within minutes found a solution that satisfied everyone. Lucas couldn't help but feel growing admiration for her. Mariana wasn't just efficient. She had a sense of justice and empathy that elevated her leadership. But he also noticed that behind her strength was a woman carrying far more weight than she let on. At the end of the day, as Lucas organized cables with Ben, he commented on Mariana. "She's amazing, isn't she?" he asked, more to himself than to Ben. Ben looked at him surprised. "Mariana? Oh, no doubt. But she's got her struggles too. I've seen people try to pull the rug out from under her more than once. It's not easy being someone like her in a place this competitive." Lucas fell silent, reflecting on Ben's words. He realized that Mariana not only bore the challenges of her job, but also faced prejudice and obstacles from those who couldn't handle her success. That night, Lucas decided to get closer to Mariana with a clearer purpose, to understand how she managed to stay authentic in such a ruthless environment. He knew that his journey of self-discovery was directly tied to learning from her. When he found her in the hallway late that evening, he asked, "Mariana, why do you do this? I mean, why put so much effort into something like this event?" She paused for a moment as if considering her answer. Finally, she responded with a smile. "Because for me, everything I do here is a chance to prove to myself that I'm capable, and maybe, just maybe, pave the way for others like me." Lucas felt the weight of her words. Mariana wasn't just working, she was building something bigger, for herself and for others. And for the first time, he began questioning what he himself was building in his own life. The conversation left Lucas unsettled. Mariana was a blend of strength and vulnerability, a constant reminder that authenticity came with sacrifices. He didn't know exactly where this would lead, but he was certain she would play a crucial role in his transformation. The day began like any other at the studio, but Lucas could feel a growing tension in the air. As the contest progressed to its final stages, rivalries among the contestants were more evident, and the technical crew seemed constantly under pressure. Despite this, Lucas maintained his disguise, focusing on observing and learning. While carrying equipment to the main stage, he found Ben adjusting the spotlights. Their friendship had deepened, and Lucas trusted the technician as one of the few people he could be somewhat genuine with, at least to a point. "You seem more thoughtful today," Ben remarked, tightening a bolt on a metal frame. "It's the atmosphere here. Feels like something's about to blow up," Lucas replied. Ben chuckled, but his expression turned serious. "Well, you're not alone in this. Just be careful not to get caught up in problems you can't fix." Ben's warning seemed cryptic, but Lucas didn't have time to question it. A familiar voice echoed through the halls. It was Sophia. Sophia had been watching Lucas with increasing curiosity over the past few days. He was different from the other workers, more educated, more reserved, yet more attentive to everything happening around him. She had started piecing together small details that didn't quite fit. When she found Lucas adjusting the stage setup, she didn't miss the chance to confront him. "Are you really just a worker?" she asked, her tone slightly provocative. Lucas looked up, keeping his expression neutral. "What else would I be?" he replied with a carefree smile. But Sophia wasn't convinced. Her gaze was sharp, as though testing his reactions. "I just think you're interesting. Don't get me wrong, but you don't seem like someone who belongs here." Lucas felt the weight of her suspicion, but managed to deflect the conversation, feigning distraction. Still, he knew Sophia wouldn't let the matter rest. Meanwhile, Ben stumbled upon an unexpected discovery. During a break, he accidentally found a folder with documents confirming Lucas's true identity. Ben was stunned, unsure of how to handle the revelation. By the end of the day, he decided to confront Lucas. "Lucas, can we talk?" Ben called, pulling him aside to a quieter area. "Of course, what's up?" Lucas asked, sensing the seriousness in Ben's tone. Ben showed him the documents, and Lucas froze. There was no denying it now. "So you're the son of the guy who owns all this. Why are you here pretending to be someone else?" Ben asked, his voice low but loaded with emotion. Lucas took a deep breath before answering. "It's complicated, Ben. I want to understand how things really work, away from the masks money and power put on people." Ben was silent for a moment, studying his friend. "You're playing with fire, you know that? But I'll keep your secret. Just make sure you're doing this for the right reasons." Relief washed over Lucas, but the conversation with Ben made him reflect on how much his presence was beginning to affect those around him. As Lucas processed the conversation, Sophia continued her silent investigation. She started observing him more closely, listening to fragments of conversations and paying attention to his interactions. At one point, she noticed Lucas and Mariana growing closer. This bothered her, but also fueled her determination to uncover the truth. Sophia decided to probe Mariana, hoping to find something that confirmed her suspicions. She approached her in the dressing room, feigning concern. "Have you noticed how that new worker is different?" Sophia asked, her tone deceptively casual. Mariana, who was organizing reports, looked up, puzzled. "Lucas? He's good at what he does, but I haven't noticed anything unusual." Sophia gave an enigmatic smile, as though she knew something others didn't. "Maybe it's just me, but be careful. Sometimes people aren't what they seem." Mariana sensed the venom in Sophia's words, but chose to ignore it. Still, the comment left a seed of doubt. That night, Lucas reflected on the day's events. His secret was more vulnerable than ever. With Ben knowing the truth and Sophia growing increasingly suspicious, he knew he needed to be more cautious. But above all, he feared the impact that revealing his identity might have on Mariana. She embodied the authenticity he was searching for, and disappointing her was something he wasn't ready to face. Preparations for the contest's semi-finals were in full swing, but the tension backstage was palpable. An unexpected incident was about to shake the foundation of the event and challenge the integrity of people Lucas had come to admire. On the morning of the dress rehearsal, hurried footsteps echoed through the corridors. Mariana was more restless than usual, reviewing schedules and coordinating teams. Lucas noticed her unease, as if she sensed something larger was brewing. "Everything okay here?" Lucas asked, trying to lighten the mood. Mariana gave him a forced smile. "Just the usual chaos. We'll survive, I hope." The rehearsal began smoothly, but during Sophia's performance, the stage lights suddenly failed. A partial blackout enveloped the room, and Sophia froze mid-performance, visibly upset. Technicians rushed to fix the issue, but chaos quickly spread. Ever the dramatist, Sophia seized the moment to stir trouble. "This is sabotage. Someone clearly doesn't want me to shine," she declared loudly enough for everyone to hear. The other contestants began murmuring, and Mariana was called to the scene to handle the situation. As she tried to calm things down, Sophia shot a piercing glare at Anna, who stood quietly in the corner. Of course, it was her, always so quiet, but full of jealousy. Anna's jaw dropped, stunned by the accusation. "I didn't do anything. I wasn't even near the stage," she protested, fighting back tears. Mariana quickly intervened. "No one is accusing anyone yet. Let's resolve this before jumping to conclusions." But the damage was done. Sophia had planted the seed of doubt, and rumors began spreading backstage. Meanwhile, Lucas was with Ben in the technical area. He saw his friend inspecting the circuits with a tense expression. "Did you find the problem?" Lucas asked. Ben nodded, pointing to a damaged cable. "This was cut. It wasn't an accident." Lucas stood silent for a moment, digesting the information. Sabotage. But who was behind it? His thoughts immediately turned to Sophia, but he knew he needed evidence before making accusations. "Can you figure out who had access to this area?" Lucas asked. Ben shook his head. "Not exactly, but I can ask the other techs. Someone must have seen something." As Lucas discreetly investigated, he realized suspicions were shifting toward Mariana. Some crew members claimed they had seen her near the equipment before the rehearsal, and the rumors began spreading. When Lucas first heard the accusation, anger boiled within him. He found Mariana sitting alone in a quiet corner, staring at the floor. It was clear she was shaken. "They're saying it was you?" Lucas asked, sitting beside her. Mariana sighed, trying to hold herself together. "Seems like it. I was near the stage checking schedules with the techs, but now they're using that against me." Lucas saw the frustration in her eyes and knew he couldn't stand by. "I'll figure out who did this. Don't worry." Mariana looked at him, surprised by the determination in his voice, but said nothing. Lucas enlisted Ben's help to dig deeper. After speaking with other technicians, Ben uncovered a critical lead. One of the security cameras had captured someone tampering with the cables shortly before the rehearsal. They reviewed the footage, and to Lucas's shock, the person was Sophia. "I knew it," Lucas said, clenching his fists. Ben looked at him seriously. "Are you going to confront her?" Lucas shook his head. "Not directly. First, I need to clear Mariana's name." With the evidence in hand, Lucas brought the findings to Mariana. She was relieved, but also stunned. "I knew she was capable of something like this, but I didn't think she'd go this far." Together, they presented the proof to the event coordinators, who decided to handle the matter discreetly to avoid public scandal. Sophia received a severe warning, but for Lucas, the most important outcome was clearing Mariana of any wrongdoing. That night, as Lucas watched Mariana coordinate the day's final tasks, he felt a deep sense of relief. It wasn't just about solving the mystery. It was about protecting someone who truly deserved it. For the first time, Lucas felt like he was starting to find his place in this chaotic world. The path ahead would still be challenging, but he knew he was ready to face it. The days following the sabotage incident were marked by a simmering tension. Although Sophia had been reprimanded, she seemed anything but subdued. Her demeanor was more calculated than ever. Lucas knew she wouldn't back down easily, and that sooner or later she would make another move, either to secure her victory or to disrupt the others. Mariana, relieved to have been cleared of suspicion, returned to her usual work pace. However, Lucas noticed that the ordeal had left its mark. She was more reserved, as if bracing herself for another unexpected blow. Lucas felt increasingly protective of her, but knew he had to maintain his cover to avoid further complications. While Lucas worked backstage, Sophia approached him again. She studied him for a moment, her smile both seductive and menacing. "You're smarter than you look," she said, crossing her arms. "Figured out I was behind that mess, didn't you?" Lucas kept his expression neutral, though her words hit hard. "I don't know what you're talking about, Sophia." She laughed, but there was a dark undertone to her voice. "Oh, you know. And honestly, I'm impressed. Not everyone can outsmart me, but I wonder who you really are." The comment made Lucas freeze for a second, but he quickly recovered. "I'm just another worker here." "Are you?" Sophia tilted her head, narrowing her eyes as if trying to decipher him. "I have my doubts. You don't act like the others. You seem out of place." Lucas knew she was dangerously close to uncovering the truth. He had to tread carefully. That afternoon, Sophia began executing her plan. She suspected Lucas had something to hide and decided to exploit it. Using her manipulative charm, she approached Ben in the technical area. "Hi, Ben. You and Lucas seem pretty close, huh?" she asked casually. Ben, who didn't trust Sophia, replied cautiously, "We talk sometimes. Why?" "Oh, nothing. I just find it interesting how different he seems, don't you? I mean, he doesn't come off like a regular worker." Ben didn't respond immediately, but Sophia noticed his hesitation. Though loyal to Lucas, the seed of doubt she planted left him unsettled. Later, Lucas found Ben unusually quiet. When he asked if something was wrong, Ben avoided the topic. "It's nothing. Just watch your step around here. Don't trust everyone." Lucas realized that Sophia was beginning to manipulate those around him to get closer to the truth. He needed to act before things spiraled out of control. The next day, Sophia sprung her trap. Taking advantage of a moment when Lucas was speaking with Mariana backstage, she appeared suddenly holding a folder of documents. "Interesting what you can find lying around," she said with a triumphant smile. Lucas and Mariana turned to face her, confused. Sophia opened the folder to reveal a sheet bearing the Andrade Company logo and Lucas's full name at the top. "Lucas Andrade. Sound familiar?" Mariana looked at Lucas, stunned. "Is this true?" she asked, her voice low but tense. Lucas tried to explain. "Mariana, I can explain. I never meant to deceive anyone." Sophia interrupted, her voice dripping with venom. "Don't worry, Mariana. He didn't just fool you. He fooled all of us. While pretending to be a simple worker, he was just having fun, watching how the rest of us live." Mariana stared at Lucas, shock and hurt evident in her eyes. She shook her head and took a step back. "So this was all a game?" "No, it wasn't a game," Lucas insisted. "I just wanted to understand people outside my bubble. I never meant to hurt anyone." Sophia watched the scene with satisfaction, savoring every second of Lucas's downfall. Mariana, without another word, turned and walked away, leaving Lucas standing there, devastated. After the confrontation, Lucas tried to speak with Mariana, but she avoided him for the rest of the day. Ben, who had witnessed part of the scene, approached him. "You need to fix this, man. I won't lie. She's hurt, and she has every right to be." Lucas nodded, knowing the only way to make things right was to be completely honest. Deep down, though, he feared it was already too late to regain Mariana's trust. As night fell over the studio, Lucas felt the weight of his choices more heavily than ever before. He had not only jeopardized his plan, but also risked losing the people who mattered most to him. The auditorium was packed, with dazzling lights illuminating the stage as cameras captured every moment. The contest's grand finale was the most anticipated event, and the tension backstage was palpable. Lucas knew this would be a decisive day, not just for the event, but for himself. Mariana avoided eye contact with Lucas after the revelation of his identity. Her professional demeanor remained impeccable, but there was a clear emotional distance. Lucas felt the void like an open wound, but understood he needed to wait for the right moment to try and make amends. Sophia, on the other hand, thrived. Dressed in a stunning gown and exuding confidence, she seemed determined to use the scandal to her advantage. Anna, with her modest posture, calmly reviewed her lines and preparations, while Sophia hovered like a shadow. Before the event began, Lucas found Ben backstage. "Ben, I need your help to make sure nothing goes wrong tonight. I'm sure Sophia's going to try something." Ben nodded. "I'm keeping an eye out. Just don't get yourself into more trouble, all right?" Lucas knew Ben was right. He'd caused enough problems already. But something inside him said he had to intervene, especially with Sophia showing no signs of stopping. The show began with the contestants' performances, alternating between talent showcases and interviews. Anna charmed the audience with her intelligence and humility, answering questions with poise. Sophia, meanwhile, used her charisma and stage presence to win applause, but there was an underlying sense of calculation in her approach. Backstage, Lucas watched closely, looking for signs of trouble. And then it happened. During Anna's final performance, the microphone cut out abruptly. The audience was confused, and Anna paused, trying to keep her composure. Lucas noticed Sophia standing backstage with a victorious smirk. He didn't need more proof to know she was behind it. Without hesitation, Lucas rushed to the technical area. Ben was already working to fix the issue. "Lucas, someone tampered with the sound system. I'm trying to fix it, but it might take a while." Lucas took a deep breath, grabbed the backup microphone, and ran onto the stage. He handed it to Anna, who looked surprised but grateful. The audience erupted into applause as Anna resumed her performance with renewed determination. The final stage of the contest was the announcement of the winner. Lucas knew this was the most critical moment, and he had a decision to make. As the son of the media mogul and part of the organization, he had the power to influence the outcome. But he knew doing so would be wrong. When he stepped onto the stage to announce the winner, he hesitated for a moment. The audience fell silent, waiting. He glanced at Sophia, whose confident expression reminded him of all that was at stake. Then he looked at Anna, who seemed resigned but serene. "And the winner is Anna Martins," Lucas announced firmly. The crowd erupted in applause, but what happened next stunned everyone. Sophia stormed onto the stage, grabbed the microphone and pointed at Lucas. "This is all a sham. Did you know that this man, pretending to be one of us, is actually Lucas Andrade, the son of the network's owner? He manipulated everything." The audience gasped, and murmurs spread throughout the room. Lucas felt the ground fall away beneath him. He had known this revelation was inevitable, but Sophia had turned it into a spectacle. From backstage, Mariana couldn't stay silent. She stepped onto the stage, took the microphone from Sophia, and addressed the crowd directly. "Sophia is right about one thing. Lucas hid who he was, but he didn't manipulate the outcome. Anna won because she deserved it, and I won't let a cheap scandal overshadow that." The audience began clapping again, but Mariana wasn't done. "However," she continued, turning to Lucas, "what you did was wrong. Hiding your identity was a way of judging others, assuming you could understand what it's like to be one of us without actually living our lives. Lucas felt the sting of her words. She was right, and though her criticism was sharp, his admiration for her only deepened. After the event, as the audience dispersed, Lucas tried to talk to Mariana. She listened, but kept her emotional distance. "Mariana, I know I made mistakes, and I'm truly sorry. You were right about everything." She sighed, shaking her head. "Lucas, you're not a bad person, but you need to understand that the world isn't an experiment. Maybe one day you'll prove that you've truly changed." With that, she walked away, leaving Lucas alone. He knew this moment was a turning point. Sophia had lost her battle, but Lucas understood his real fight was just beginning, the fight to become someone worthy of Mariana's trust and respect. The day after the contest felt quiet, but Lucas knew the repercussions of everything that had happened still lingered. The event had ended, but not without scars. Mariana avoided any contact with him, and the scandal of his identity revelation echoed through the halls of the network. Sophia, meanwhile, had discreetly disappeared, but Lucas knew she wouldn't hesitate to use the incident to her advantage in the future. Lucas withdrew for a while, reflecting on Mariana's words on stage. He now understood how shallow his approach had been. Disguising himself didn't make him part of that world. He had merely observed it from a position of privilege. To truly understand the people he claimed to want to help, he would need to leave the comfort of his bubble entirely. One day, Lucas ran into Ben at a small cafe near the studio. The technician, one of the few who still treated him with normalcy, seemed concerned. "So, what's the plan now?" Ben asked, stirring his coffee. "I'm still figuring that out. I just know I need to do things differently. I want to start fresh as an ordinary person," Lucas replied thoughtfully. Ben chuckled softly. "Well, that's a good start. But to do that, you've got to truly commit. No more pretending, Lucas. You've got to feel it." Lucas nodded, acknowledging the truth in Ben's words. "I want to do something meaningful, Ben, something that really makes a difference. And I think you can help me." Over the following months, Lucas began working with Ben on social projects aimed at helping underserved communities in the city. He used his influence to secure resources, but got directly involved in the fieldwork. Together, they launched a public lighting program for neglected neighborhoods, with Ben training local youth in technical skills. For the first time, Lucas felt the weight of real work. There was no glamour, no instant recognition, just the daily effort and the quiet satisfaction of seeing tangible results, streets illuminated and people gaining opportunities. Meanwhile, Mariana thrived in journalism. After the contest, she landed a chance to lead her own investigative team. Her knack for problem-solving and relentless pursuit of truth made her a respected figure at the network. Even so, she avoided any contact with Lucas, though she occasionally heard about his projects. One day, as Mariana reviewed a script for her show, a colleague remarked, "Did you see this? Lucas Andrade is leading a social project with that technician, Ben. Looks like he's trying to redeem himself." Mariana tried to appear indifferent, but felt a pang of curiosity. Despite everything, she knew Lucas had the potential to be better, and the news of his involvement in something so impactful stirred something within her. As the projects progressed, Lucas realized he wasn't just helping others, he was also helping himself. He now understood the value of humility and direct action, but one thing still weighed on him: the void left by Mariana. He knew he couldn't force her back into his life, but he hoped his actions might prove he had changed. Ben, noticing Lucas's internal struggle, decided to step in. "You're still thinking about her, aren't you?" Ben asked while inspecting an electrical panel at one of their projects. "Every day," Lucas admitted. "Then why not talk to her? But this time, be real. No excuses, no plans, just honesty." That night, Lucas wrote a letter to Mariana. He knew spoken words could be misinterpreted, so he decided to pour his feelings onto paper. The letter was simple, but sincere. He explained his initial motivations, admitted his mistakes, and shared how his time with Ben and the social projects had changed his perspective. He didn't expect her forgiveness, but wanted her to know that she had inspired his transformation. With the letter delivered, all he could do was wait. A few days later, as Lucas and Ben were wrapping up another project, a familiar figure appeared on site. Mariana walked toward him, her expression a mix of curiosity and something else he couldn't quite place. "So, this is what you've been up to?" she asked, glancing around. Lucas swallowed hard, but held her gaze. "Yes. I don't know if it makes up for what I did, but I'm trying." Mariana stood silent for a moment before finally smiling. "It's a good start." With that, Lucas realized that while the road ahead would still be long, there was hope. The sun was setting over the community where Lucas and Ben had been working for months. The golden light reflected off the streets, illuminated by their public lighting project, a symbol of progress and collective effort. The area, once dark and unsafe, had transformed into a vibrant, welcoming space. Lucas sat on an improvised bench, watching children play in the square. He felt a peace he hadn't experienced in a long time. His work there had taught him more than any book or business strategy ever could. Yet, despite this newfound calm, there was an absence he couldn't ignore. Mariana. Since their brief encounter, Lucas had felt something was missing. He knew Mariana needed time to believe in his transformation. All he could do was remain faithful to the changes he'd promised himself. At the network office, Mariana continued to excel. Her team admired her ethical leadership and her ability to balance empathy with professionalism. Still, her thoughts often drifted back to her last meeting with Lucas. His words, his actions, and above all, his honesty seemed genuine. She wondered if it was time to give him the chance to prove he had truly changed. One day, while reviewing a new journalistic project, Mariana made a decision she hadn't considered in months. She would visit Lucas. When she arrived at the community where he worked, Mariana was struck by what she saw. The streets were filled with light, and people smiled and chatted as if they were one big family. At the heart of it all was Lucas, helping organize a small fair to showcase local talents. He didn't notice her at first, engrossed in his tasks. When he finally saw her, his eyes lit up, though he didn't rush over. Instead, he walked to her calmly, respecting the space she clearly needed. "Mariana," he said softly, "I didn't expect to see you here." "I thought it was time to see for myself what you've been doing," she replied with a small smile. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the activity around them. Then Mariana spoke, directly and without hesitation. "Lucas, it wasn't easy for me to get past everything that happened. I felt used, deceived, but at the same time, I can't ignore what you've done here. This is real, and it's good." Lucas nodded, taking in her words. "I don't expect you to forgive me completely, Mariana, but I want you to know that all of this exists because you made me see what I was missing." Mariana looked at him, searching his face for sincerity. After a long pause, she took a deep breath and decided to be honest. "I believe in second chances, Lucas, but if I let you back into my life, I need to know you'll keep doing what you're doing here, not for me, but for yourself and for the people who depend on you now." Lucas smiled, relieved. He knew this wasn't a perfect resolution, but rather a new beginning, and that was all he could hope for. A few months later, Lucas and Mariana were together again, but this time their relationship was built on new foundations. Lucas continued to lead social projects with Ben, while Mariana established herself as one of the most respected journalists at the network. Together, they began collaborating on initiatives that combined the power of communication with social impact, broadening the reach of their efforts. Lucas learned that true power didn't come from wealth or status, but from the ability to use privilege to create a fairer world. And Mariana realized that even those who stumble could find redemption if they were willing to confront their flaws and change. As they walked through the illuminated square they had helped transform, Lucas took Mariana's hand. "Thank you for believing in me," he said. She smiled. "Just don't let me down, Andrade." And so, with humility, love, and determination, they moved forward together, proving that true beauty lies in strength of character and the courage to begin anew. So what did you think of this emotional story of transformation and second chances? Lucas and Mariana showed us that the path to redemption and genuine human connection comes through humility, effort, and learning from our mistakes. Which part of this journey touched you the most? Was it the moment Lucas realized his flaws, or when Mariana decided to give him a second chance? If you also believe that we all have the power to change and build something better, don't forget to hit the like button on the video. It really helps the channel grow and brings more inspiring stories your way. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. There's so much good content coming, and I want you here to enjoy it all. Here's a question for you. What would you do if you were in Mariana's place? Would you give Lucas a second chance after everything? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching and see you next time.